Good morning, everybody. It's wonderful to have you all here. The agenda for the annual parish meeting, the remainder of it is at the back of your service leaflet, and one of the wonderful things about having the Eucharist be a part of it is we've already done the call to order, welcome, and opening prayer. And so thank you for being here, remaining, and coming in. And I want to turn things over to our junior warden, Dana Jones. And Dana is going to get us going on our agenda by giving thanks to a really amazing group of people, our retiring vestry members. So your junior warden, Dana Jones.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Yes. So it is my honor today to recognize and celebrate my fellow members of the retiring vestry class. It has been such a joy to serve with these amazing and tireless individuals. I will highlight each for his or her specific contributions to the life at All Saints. And before I do so, I want you to know that each of these wonderful people participated faithfully in vestry deliberations and attended vestry staff conferences where all of their contributions were many and highly valued. Additionally, these folks made up the majority of this year's nominating committee for vestry, which has given us an exciting slate of people to join in the work. So first, Jay Bololi. Jay has been a member of All Saints Church for over 20 years. He was giving chair from 2016 to 2018. He's been a member of finance from 2015 to 2017. He's also been a very important member of the Foster Care Project. He's served as a lay visitor. He's been a member of the Pastoral Care Vestry Committee from 2015 and 16, and he's been active in several other pastoral care and peace and justice ministries. Thank you, Jay. Samantha Harris couldn't be with us today. She has been one of our youth members on vestry. She is a lifelong member of All Saints Church. She's been involved with Wednesday night youth group and other youth activities. She went on a transformational journey to La Mission, and she has served as an acolyte. She's also been a member of Children and Youth Choir, where she is currently in Trouvères and the Youth Chamber Choir. She's also been a volunteer photographer with our communications department. Thank you, Samantha. Gloria Pitzer also has been a lifelong member of All Saints Church. She stepped in to fill an unexpired vestry term, which brings her to this class here that's retiring. She is a member of Coventry Choir, as well as the Finance Committee member, and currently serving as chair of the Finance Committee. She's also on the Giving Committee, and part of the Buildings and Grounds Capital Planning Task Force. She served as the co-chair of the Rector's Search Committee. She's also a former junior and senior warden, as well as a former congregational dinner host and a former vestry nominating committee member. Thank you, Gloria. Next, we have Jenny Watts. Jenny is a 14-year member of All Saints Church. She has served as a reader, as well as a member of the Leadership Vestry Committee from 2015 to 2017. Also as a member of the Building and Grounds Vestry Committee from 2015 to 2018. She's been a member of the Peace and Justice Vestry Committee from 2017 to today. She's also the mother of 2 children, so she's been an acolyte parent, a youth lay Eucharistic minister parent, and she currently helps to feed the youth on Wednesday nights. Thank you, Jenny. Next up is Bob Whitson. He's been a leader of the Climate Change Task Force, as well as a member of the Building and Grounds Vestry Committee, 2015 through today. He's also served as a member of the Peace and Justice Vestry Committee, 2017 through today. He went on a transformational journey to China in 2017. He's also been a past congregational dinner host and a Lenten group leader for several years. Thank you, Bob.
And we have to say goodbye to one very special member of this class, Dana Jones, our junior warden. In the course of the 4 years that she has been on vestry, she's been a member of the Peace and Justice Vestry Committee, a member of Buildings and Grounds, an ex officio member of all 8 vestry committees, and is currently a member of the new Personnel Committee. There are many other things that could go on, but I want to say other things about you. From 2017 to 2019, Dana served 2 terms as junior warden. The first one was under our senior warden, Trula Worthy Clayton. Why do I have to look down to look at that? And she has written to you a note to you. Dana's fellow vestry members elected her for the 2017-18 junior warden as the junior warden, setting in place a partnership for which I am most grateful. Her spirituality, generosity, and professionalism are always present. Dana has the unique ability to pair her respect for tradition with her ever-present openness to trying something new. She can be depended on to nimbly research policies, canons, and guidelines, at the same time creatively designing a paperless reporting system. Thank you, Dana, for a job well done. Love, Trula. Okay, but wait, there's more. And then I had the privilege of working with Dana this year. When you're looking for a partner, you want some specific qualities, and Dana showed up with all of them. She is organized, she is straightforward, she is kind and generous. She has this wonderful combination of honesty and yet graciousness in her honesty. She is empathetic, and yet at the same time, she can make the tough decisions. When things got hard, she showed up again and again and again. She has one of the strongest internal sets of principles that I have ever met. She is facile on her ever-present laptop. You don't have it with you. I'm not sure how you're. And she was able to provide us information we didn't even know we needed until she would show up. Over the course of the year, a team experiences a lot of life together, and I went back and reviewed the text exchanges that Mike and Dana and I have had over the year. I know it was good for some laughs. I was reminded that she was a full-service junior warden. She was engaged in decisions that needed to be made quickly, sharing in celebrations every time a vestry candidate said yes. And she was there for comfort in personal issues. We became very close, the three of us, as a family team. She was also a critical source of information, and my favorite was the detailed directions on how to play paper football, which was, who knew that was even a thing? So Dana, you have been a gift. Thank you, I appreciate it. And now for the new vestry. Every year we present to the congregation a slate of candidates to serve on your vestry. The slate contains 6 adults and 1 representative of our youth group. They join the other 17, so we have a total on vestry of 26. The official process for identifying these starts in October, but in fact it's year-round, where we're looking for leadership. It is the candidate, the selection, the nominating committee is made up of we have 6 outgoing vestry members, the junior warden, the senior warden. It's actually in your program if you want to look at it. Then we have 4 at-large people who come and bring their experience and their connections to help us think about it, and then Mike and Christina Hunchel. So it is a long, it is a lengthy, it is a deep, prayerful discernment process as we are looking for the people who are going to be willing to do a lot of the work. They take on the fiduciary responsibility for this church. They grapple with the toughest decisions that we have to make. They go to meetings, they go to retreats. They are an amazing group of people who serve on committees and help us work our way through the life of the church. I am delighted to present the slate today for our class of 22. The first, Kelsey, if you would wave, maybe stand because people will have a trouble seeing you. Kelsey also grew up at All Saints. Have you noticed a theme today that we have a lot of people who grew up at All Saints? It's wonderful. She was confirmed here. She sang in the choirs and youth choirs. She served as acolyte. She is now a nurse and returns to us and is a leader of our 20s and 30s ministry. I ask each person to tell me something that they were bringing, an interest they had, a dream they had. I love this. She brings to her work liveliness, a fresh look, and avocado toast. I have no idea what that means. Thank you. Kimberly Hudson. Kimberly is a member of All Saints. I think if we hold our applause to the end, and then we'll just give them a resounding applause. Kimberly has been a member of All Saints for 3 years and is a current member of the Finance Committee and is chair of the women's community at All Saints. She's an expert in entrepreneurship with over 25 years' experience in business development. She is CEO of Nexi, a clean tech company, and co-founder of Unruly, a consulting firm and educational platform working to empower women through entrepreneurship. Kimberly looks forward to bringing collaborative, strategic planning and leadership solutions to All Saints and to our leadership. Eddie King. Eddie King has been a member of All Saints for 15 years. He and his family have been active. His children have grown up at All Saints. He is a working actor and director and a general contractor, and we have been the beneficiary of both of those talents. He is a member of Building and Grounds. He has served as the leader of a new members class. He is a member of the Growth and Incorporation Task Force. He is also a greeter. He says, my vision of a church is of a church that continues to grow through its existing ministries, but is not afraid to tell its story to a larger audience, to be audacious, to be creative. Our theology of justice and inclusion for all can be a story we tell individually or through community outreach or music or dance or poetry or theater. We can tell our story through building a children's climbing tower, directing a play, or giving of ourselves by weeding a garden or teaching a child. He says if you want a shortened version of this, it's we're all storytellers, let's tell our story to a larger audience. Rory Loudermilk also has been at All Saints for most of her life. She has been acolyting and involved in the youth group since 6th grade. She has participated in Seekers and made the trip to Washington, D.C. this year with our youth. She is our youth rep. She is a sophomore at Orange County School for the Arts, where she is yearbook photographer, involved with theater, and is a leader in a school-wide anti-bullying campaign. Rory wants to take in and learn all the things that she can from her community and to advocate for the ideas of All Saints youth. Juan Mejia has been at All Saints for 18 years. He and his family have been very active. He is a Los Angeles County Deputy District Attorney, a member of the Latino Prosecutors Association and the Mexican Bar Association. He served a prior term on vestry, has worked with pastoral care, giving, and CYF vestry committees. He has served on 3 discernment committees and several search committees. Juan wants to work on providing a safe and welcoming space for community life, especially for our Latina and Latino members. Sarah Phillips has been at All Saints for 6 years. She is a user interface designer at AXS. She is a member of the Canterbury Choir, is currently president of the choir. She is in leadership of the 20s and 30s ministry and was part of the music director search committee. Sarah wants to help All Saints continue to grow in community, learn together, and take action when called so that we can continue to provide a space for everyone at the table. And last is Edna Trigg. Edna is not able to be here today. She is serving an expired term on the vestry now. She has been an usher and lay counselor. She is co-chair of Racial Justice Ministry and co-chair of the new member class. She traveled with the All Saints Trevere Choir on their civil rights tour of the South, as did Juan, acting as a facilitator. Her background is in education, including a master's in ESL. Currently, she provides house sitting and animal care services. She says, I am stepping into this communal journey intent on being about the work of Jesus, specifically challenging the intent and impact of reconciliation and transforming the status quo. I present to you the candidates for the vestry class of 2022. Do you do something here?
So we have a chance to do this again. I move that this slate be accepted by acclamation. So there you go. Okay. So I think you're still up. It's you and Dana?
Dana.
Yep.
Oh, no, we have to vote for candidates.
Hold on, this is me.
You're on.
I'm up. Hold on. Obviously, this is a finely tuned machine. So yes, look here, I am at the agenda, because the next piece is, don't go too far, the announcement of the 2019-2020 senior warden. We have two wardens, a senior warden and a junior warden. The senior warden is chosen by the rector, is popularly known as the rector's warden. The junior warden is called the people's warden, is chosen by the vestry. We wanted to get the whole new vestry together and let them have a chance to choose the junior warden, so that announcement will come later at the second annual meeting. But I am thrilled to announce that our senior warden for the coming year will be the same as our senior warden for the last year, which is Mary Ann Ahart. Woo! And I cannot think of a better case of someone who is absolutely the right person at the right time. And also, you bring so many gifts to this work, and so much of it is your heart. And just, it's your love of this place, it's your love of God, and it's just the love that you bring everywhere. So just incredibly grateful. And it is a huge, huge, huge amount of work. So please keep Mary Ann and the entire vestry in your prayers. We have one more business item in terms of election, and that is the election of the 2019 Diocesan Convention delegates. These are people who will represent us in December at the Convention of the Episcopal Diocese of Los Angeles. You have the slate in front of you: Mary Ann Ahart, Christine Hartman, Gray Ingracia, Dave Moreno, Jim Rice, Jim White, Risa Worthy-Deemer, alternates Thomas Diaz, Dana Jones, and Eddie King. This is really an important job of representing us to the diocese, representing the diocese to us, and I move that we accept this slate by acclamation. So would you please? And so most of the rest of our time together, we want to talk about these 4 foundational goals that the vestry has set. If you were here at 9 o'clock, you heard me talk about them in my rector's address. If you were not, you'll hear about it at 11:15. But really, we want to do a little bit of a mini deep dive right now into where these goals came from, why we have them, and what each of them are. And so for that, Mary Ann, I'm going to turn it back over to you and Dana.
All right, we take a deep breath. We take a deep breath into the microphone. This is a day that we have been looking forward to and working toward for quite a while. And it is such pleasure and excitement that we present this day the 4 foundational goals that are really going to be the focus of our work for the next several years. So those of you who were at the 9 o'clock service have already heard an introduction to these. For those who are about to go to the 11:15, or off to breakfast, but we'll listen to it later, we really want to introduce to you the 4 goals briefly so that you understand what we're talking about as we go through the next presentations. And to do that, we have visual aids, which are just fabulous. Thanks to the Communication Committee and Susan Russell for getting this done in a fairly short period of time so that they can be here to support us. I'll go over them very quickly so that you have a sense of what they are. The first foundational goal is visioning, or vision, and this is going to allow us to claim a vision of how All Saints lives God's love out loud as a church. We really need to claim that, and then that will help us understand how we can be moving toward the future, how we can see what the future is calling us to be. The second one is support. This is about our staff. This is about loving, supporting, equipping our staff in a way that they can then support us and equip us to go out into the world. The third one is about welcoming. This one is about space. Creating space that brings us together, creating space that makes us feel welcome, that makes us want to be in relationship together, and that then prepares us to go out into the world to do our other work. And the last one is inspire. This is the one of deepening connections of love within the congregation. It's creating opportunities for connecting, for celebrating, for study together, for sharing life together. It's a secure relationship. It is these secure relationships that we create among each other that gives us the courage to love boldly here and beyond our walls. It also is going to mean identifying the incredible wealth of leadership that we have at All Saints. I am overwhelmed sometimes as I meet you about the kinds of skills and leadership abilities we have here. It will be identifying those, supporting them, getting them ready to be leaders in All Saints, and as we have found out, much of the leadership training we do in All Saints shows up in other organizations, so it also impacts the world. Dana, do you want to talk about the history of this?
Sure. So a little brief history, I promise brief, about the evolution and kind of what got us to this point. We find ourselves as a congregation right now at a place that is ripe for growth, and we have a renewed commitment really to work together. Through a very generous anonymous donation, we were able to employ a consultant 8 months ago who's still working with us to act as both an executive coach for Mike, as well as to take a general look at how we organize ourselves. We want to be prepared as we move forward into the future and be able to grow. Our consultant has been very taken with All Saints and its mission, although that you will see with all of this that it's brought us some more work to do that she's identified for us. She did many interviews, she's made a lot of observations, and she collected data and came back with recommendations of what our work could be to position ourselves for the next step in our collective journey. Mike, Marianne, and I, with input from others, worked with the wording of them and then took them to vestry for their approval. These are the goals that we agreed to make the focus of our collective work. And then more people began to refine them and to identify initial people to work on the early organization of each of the goals, and you'll hear many more details about each of them in the next few minutes. So now the fun begins.
Brief statement yet before we get into the specifics. As we work on these goals, and when I say we, we're hoping that every single person here is going to be part of this work. This is going to give us skills that we need to go forward also, such as working together, solving problems together, organizing ourselves so that we can organize to go out and do other work. So it's going to be a lot of learning that we're going to do together. It's a very exciting for me. It's a very, very exciting time. Those of us gathered here today, in whatever form we are gathered, wherever we are the people who will do the work because this is our church. If you look around you, or if introverts want to not look around, that's okay. You are looking at All Saints. We are All Saints. I was on the lawn last month or so talking to a woman I did not know, and she told me that she had been very active in another church in Pasadena and had come here because of a family member was coming here, and she ended up leaving this church of a long connection and coming here. And she said, she turned to me and she smiled and she said, "I love this church." And I thought, oh my gosh, that is exactly the heart of what I hear from people all the time. And John and I were talking about this morning, and he said, you know, do you remember when we first came here and we could not believe this was going on someplace, that this was happening? So this for me is what All Saints is. We are a very special, a unique opportunity to show God's love, and we're doing that. Maybe the greatest gift of all of being the warden, other than working with Dana and Mike, has been a chance to meet you and understand who we are as All Saints. This work has to be done by all of us, and as you listen to the presentations about the specific foundational goals, please watch for places where you can attach, where you're interested, where you want to be part of that work. And no matter what, thank you, no matter what the program says, I'm going next. And I am not talking about space. So I'm going to talk about the first one, which is visioning. I want to start with a quotation by Margaret Wheatley, who is a person who thinks deeply about how organizations function, how people come together to make a difference. And she says this: every organization is an identity in motion. I love that. Moving through the world, trying to make a difference. Therefore, the most important work we can do is to engage one another in our purpose, to find our identity. We need together to be asking, and I hope we will ask this for years, what's possible now? How can the world be different because of us? And that, in a nutshell, is our first foundational goal. We are going to look at our mission, our vision, our values, and we're going to say, what is possible now for a group of people who come together, who hold these things in common? What can we do that will make a difference in this world? So when I first introduced this to several people who I know and love, they said, yeah, right, we have a mission. Why are we doing this work? And some of them were fairly adamant about that. So I've had to think about this. And I think there are two answers. First of all, yes, we do have a mission. And some of you know it by heart. Do you want to say it with me? There's going to be a quiz at the end of this. Okay. And I'm looking at my notes, so that tells you something, right? Following our prophetic call, we seek to embody the inclusive love of God in Christ through spirituality, community, and peace and justice. And that actually is on the front of your liturgy almost every Sunday. So a mission, however, is only useful when everyone knows it, when everyone says it, when people walk around and say, so how did your embodying God's love go today? You know, how was that? Anything we should know about that? And in fact, what our consultant found was that we had sort of a general idea of what it was, but when this is interesting, almost everyone thought inclusion was probably our mission and our vision and our value. So I think inclusion came across a lot to her. Over the years, we have found other ways of saying this love of embodying God's love, and they've been evoked by different things, such as at All Saints Church, our mission is to make God's love tangible, or we are God's love lived out, or whoever you are and wherever you find yourself on the journey of faith, you are welcome here at our table. We will keep all of these. We'll have to figure out where they go and how they fit together, but we're not going to jettison any of those. But we do have a mission that is a mission, and we will keep the mission. The second answer to this why now is there is a fierce urgency of now, and it calls for us to live into our mission in ways that we have known we could do in the past, but maybe even need to up our game at this point. When we think about our history, I think most of us, it brings up images of protesting unjust wars and invasions, standing up to the IRS, standing for the right of women to be ordained, telling the LGBTQ plus community that they are gifts of God and they are welcome here, taking a fierce stand on marriage equality. These each gave us focus, they gave us energy, and they gave us a sense of what a mission demanded of us. In order to respond to that urgency now, we have to have that same focus and energy. We claim our mission by together asking, what does it mean for All Saints Church in 2019 and beyond to seek to embody the inclusive love of God in Christ? You are going to hear that question all over the place in the next couple of years because it's what we have to answer for ourselves. At the same time, we'll work on core values. We have to say, if this is our mission, then what are the core values that have to be in place? And more importantly, what are we willing to hold ourselves accountable to every day in how we interact together? There's a difference between what we value, such as our incredible music program, and core values, such as justice, inclusion, etc. It's not surprising that inclusion came up as the most universally said word in the interviews. In fact, Sharon thought it might be our theology, which I thought was actually not our theology. Core values are the fundamental belief that we have as people or as organizations. They determine how we act together, they determine how we make decisions, how we take actions, and they determine how we behave together. So if, for instance, we choose a core value of inclusion, we wrestle with that. What does that look like? When we say we will hold ourselves accountable to inclusion, and if we say radical inclusion, what does that look like? We will be wrestling with this question now, and it will go on forever, because every time we make a decision, our values will come back up to be looked at again. We will start the core values work now, and then it will go on forever. For those of you who have been here forever, it's going to go on. The vestry will take the lead in this particular area on the values at their 2-day conference in early March. We will ask them to define, refine, and then apply the values. And we're going to ask them to take some serious decisions we need to be making and make those decisions based only on the values that we say we will hold ourselves accountable to. Then that work will come back to the congregation. We will ask you to play with us, to start to examine that, to dig in deeper. When we are committed to make this work, while we are committed to make this work as inclusive as possible, we are also trying to balance that with structures that make it efficient. So we will probably stumble along the way. We will need to be nimble. If you want to be more active, please tell us. If you want to give us input in different ways, please tell us. But we're trying to create as many venues as possible, as many different ways for you to participate, and because this is your work. And then finally, the work leads us to visioning. What are we called to do? How does the world become a better, more just, loving, compassionate place? Because we who are gathered here in our pews, streaming, YouTube, now, bound by our common purpose and values, intent on embodying God's love, because we are willing to do this work, what are we called to do? And that is the basis of our visioning process. What does vision of our mission call us to do? We anticipate the specific work of the visioning starting in the fall after we have completed mission and values. Please come and be part of this. Please jump in, do everything you can that feels like it's fun, it's challenging. I'm hoping that the discussions that we have are going to generate some heat. I can't imagine at All Saints that we will not generate some heat. And that will take us to a place that we can't even imagine now. I am hoping that years from now, there will be a group of people somewhere in this world who will turn to one another and say, thank heavens that a group of people at All Saints in 2019, 2020 came together around the same mission, values, and vision and did what they did and made the world a better place.
So, just leave that there. You've got me up here. Great. So I'm here to talk about the second goal, which is supporting. And actually what I'm going to do briefly is just move this aside to create a better window for the folks back here. Because this is about the staff, and part of my work as rector is to be responsible for the staff of All Saints Church. So the first thing I would like is for those who are staff who are here, could you please stand? And could we just please? There are many, many more. So this is, and I'll get our tableau set up again. This is a small sample or representation of the staff of All Saints Church. And they're amazing, and we all know that because we work with them every day. And something has been happening over time. For the last 10 or 15 years, what we have had is kind of an extended perfect storm. And you can really do the math, and so I just want to paint the picture for you. Here's what has happened and has been happening. First of all, from just a strict financial standpoint, fixed costs have continued to rise. Now, we know this. It's things like cost of living, benefits, insurance. All these things have continued to rise. Second, and Phil Necker did some great data work on this, over the last 10 to 15 years, congregational giving in real dollars has remained essentially flat. So what that means is that we've had a gap, and budgets have tightened, and over time, staff cuts have had to be made. Well, when we've made staff cuts, we have done that not by reducing capacity, but a lot of the time by combining two or more positions into one position without reduction in portfolio or reduction in expectations from the rest of us of what these people can accomplish. We give that person a little more money, but it's essentially 2 full-time jobs to do. In the meantime, while this is happening, well, the world keeps spinning around and new and exciting opportunities for ministry emerge, and people say, wow, All Saints should do something about this, and we do because it all seems important and it excites us, and so we regularly add new ministries and initiatives that in some ways depend on our staff, without making room for those added responsibilities. Well, you can see what this means. We have staff working some pretty crazy hours, and it's not even just the volume of hours, it's the heavy emotional and spiritual content of a lot of this work. Now, not only is this not healthy, here's another thing. We have a staff of incredibly creative people that we're not giving the brain space to be creative. We are not getting the most out of the people that we have because we are running them ragged. We've turned this place into a hamster wheel for our staff. Now, this goal is about changing all that. And this is the thing, it happened slowly. And our staff, frankly, is so good at doing their work that in many cases, we didn't notice as a congregation. So now we're noticing. And so the first thing we've done is the vestry's established a personnel committee to really take charge of looking at a lot of these things. And the first thing that they're doing is we're working with all of the staff on coming up with job descriptions that are reasonable. This is our first priority. We're gathering all the administrative assistants together because our support staff is particularly stressed. And we're seeing, do we have enough of them? But we're also making sure that they can structure themselves to work as efficiently as possible. We're putting in place employee review processes so we can focus people's time, so we can set goals and not just stay in an unexamined fashion on the hamster wheel. We're going to be looking at salary and benefit structures and policies about things like parental leave and sabbatical to make sure that our personnel policies meet our standards of justice and love. And overall, we're going to be moving from this model where we look at staff to do much of the work of ministry and moving more into a model where the staff equips us to do the work and works with us to focus our energy and resources in line with the values, mission, and vision that we're claiming. Now, there is a lot that we can do to help. But really, right now, the biggest part we can do is we can recognize that times of adjustment like this are even more work than the normal overwork. And that's why too often we put them off. We're too busy to do this work. And so the urgent crowds out the important. Well, we're doing this work right now. I and Sharon Browning, the consultant that Marianne mentioned, we're working with the staff in all of this work. And part of what we're doing is helping them prioritize and create space to do some really high-level creative work. And so what that means for all of us is there's going to be opportunities for us to step up and do some things that might previously have been done by staff. Maybe staff isn't going to have as much time to recruit volunteers, so we're all going to need to pitch in. There will probably be a little extra stress on the staff during this time, so please remember that when you're working with them. Pray for them, love them, let them know that you appreciate them. Please understand that our staff have lives outside of this place. And that for us to be a community of health and healing, we need a healthy staff too, so we need to support them in drawing boundaries around their time here. Now, this is a huge piece of shoring up our foundation, which is going to make all of us stronger. And with that, I want to bring up Jim Albarano, and Jim is going to talk about another piece of our foundation that will make all of us stronger, and that's our building. So thanks, Jim.
I'm gonna keep it brief, but as was mentioned, the next goal is providing a safe and welcoming space for community life. This goal is to maximize the potential of our campus, of our buildings, of our beautiful place, so that we can be the best that we can be for our community, for our parishioners, for our families. And this is exciting because we have such a beautiful church, and there's so much history here. And I'm looking at all the stained glass. I never get to see this one in the back because I'm usually out there. But it's so beautiful, and we want to keep it beautiful, and we want to make it the best place it can be. So last fall, Vestry, who, as you can see, is our governing board, we just elected some new members, they passed a motion to form a task force to focus specifically on this goal. This group was formed and named itself PACES, which is Planning and Campus Enrichment Strategies. The name PACES is also to symbolize taking small measured steps, not to take any big steps we want to dream big, but we want to make sure that we're pragmatic and we're being carefully thought out of what we're doing. An example might be, is you might have noticed there's the new floors over in Sweetland Hall, which are beautiful and great and were well needed, but that is an example of deferred maintenance. It's something that we had been putting off. The floors were getting in worse condition. People were tripping because they weren't safe. They weren't as flat as they could be. And so, but even a decision like that takes a lot of work. You got to figure out what other projects is that going to impact? How's that going to impact people who meet there? How's that going to impact if we're going to do future work? We don't want to have to tear up new floors if we put floors down. So we have to look at the long term. You have to look at all the different various factors that go into it. And so that is something that PACES is doing. And that's a core group of 7 people. It is co-chaired by Phil Necker and Lonnie Shield. And the core group also has other groups around it that include a deferred maintenance working group, which is another group of parishioners who are looking at areas that we have to fix up. There is a working group called the Campus Planning and Visualization Working Group, which is talking about with the mission and vision and goals, where we're going to be, what kind of buildings we need for the future and looking long term. Of course, there's the Giving and Financial Working Group, because this will take money and it'll take all of us pulling our resources together to make these things happen. And then there's the Communication and Engagement Working Group, which is to communicate to everybody when something's happening, so that, for instance, when the elevator is going to be repaired because it's in desperate need of repair, like, you know, the elevator is going to be down, so we need to communicate that out and come up with a plan of how we're going to move around campus. And then another working group is the External Review Board, which is a group of 4 or 5 people who are going to be outside the day-to-day operations, and they're going to pop in and make sure that we are staying focused and that we're not taking any steps that might impact things in a negative way, and we might have missed something, you know. So some of the key values of PACES is going to be transparency, that we want this process to be open, we want everybody to be involved, we want feedback, we welcome differing views of opinions, because we're a very diverse group and we're going to have different needs. And so we want to bring all these ideas together and figure out the best way forward. As I said, we want to be modest and have progressive steps so that we come up with a strategy and a system of improving the buildings. And once we figure out what the proper order is, we can repeat it. So we can do something this fall, and then once we see that the system works, we can take on bigger and bigger challenges of improving our campus. And also, we want to learn from the past. There's been, obviously, this building is beautiful, and you can see the plaques around as different things have been added. And so we want to learn from the past and the successes and the challenges that had come with changes to the building in the past, and we're going to take all of that with us. So as we are underway now, we are working on, our group has a weekly call, and we're working on creating a recommendation to the vestry on how to proceed and what the overall plan is for the building and campus. So we definitely would love to get as many people involved as possible. We're going to be having forums to discuss ideas, to get feedback, to kind of lay out the plans, and also try to poke holes in it and see where we might have missed some ideas and might not be thinking of other areas. So we're looking forward to working with everybody and making this campus the best it can possibly be. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Nancy Necker, and I'm the chair of the Congregational Development Committee, and I've been at All Saints for 30 years.
Hi, my name is Steve Williams, and I'm one of the Congregational Development Liaisons on the vestry, and I've been here for 2 years.
Steve and I are going to talk to you about our 4th foundational goal, and that is to inspire by deepening and the loving connections with each other. And we also want to identify and equip inspiring leaders for the work ahead. We're going to focus on helping people to find these loving relationships at All Saints Church. And we're going to build with our Leadership and Support and Development Committee those leaders to help equip us and make those connections with each other strong and vibrant. One of the most important opportunities for building connections at All Saints Church is our Sunday morning lawn experience. A team of committed volunteers is working hard on developing ways to make our lawn as welcoming as possible. We're creating a connection center on the lawn to make it easier to connect with all of the opportunities at the All Saints community has to offer.
Churches around the world have discovered that loving connections are nurtured in small groups and where people regularly gather around shared interest. And we are putting an extra effort into reinvigorating our small groups at All Saints. We have small groups that meet around a variety of topics like social justice reading groups, LGBTQ plus affinity groups, Bible study, Brothers on a Journey, parent culture, 20s, 30s, racial justice. Those are just to name a few. We encourage everybody here, really, to be in a small group. It is where the message that's here at the pulpit is really put into a more intimate situation. And if you can't find something that's already there that we have as far as a small group, we encourage you to be inspired and start one, right? A group around issues or themes that are really important to you, that maybe pull other people in. And what we've done is we put together a small group support team and leadership training to help you be better prepared as a facilitator for one of these groups.
Another very successful program we are using to build community is our series of Feast and Friendship Dinners, and I think Mike mentioned that in his sermon this morning. These dinners are solely focused on getting to know somebody in the All Saints community that you don't already know. They're all about good conversation and good food, and there's no agenda attached. I think people here are so fascinating and so warm that sitting down together for dinner can create a really lasting and loving relationship. We've made it easy for you to sign up to participate in these dinners. Just go to the Sign Up Center link, which is at the top of the All Saints Church website. Scroll down and you'll find the variety of Feast and Friendship Dinners, and just click on there and register online. If you're interested in hosting a Feast and Friendship Dinner, we'd love to hear from you, so call me or Christine Cox at All Saints Church. We have another new program that is helping to make connections with parishioners, and that is a series of classes called The Table. This is a way for us to build a common language about our faith journey. So please join The Table for this Lent for our second series, and it's called Embodied Faith, Spiritual Practices for Lent.
One of the big challenges with All Saints is that it's so big. And trying to get connected is always one of those challenges, but also trying to get known. It is very hard for the staff and the lay leadership to know everyone. So what we would like to do is that you can help with us, and that's by please logging on to the My All Saints space on our webpage and update your profile. Send your photo to Amanda Perez, and her email is on the website. Or visit us on the lawn, and what we can do is we can take a picture for you, and then we can upload it to the website also. And then tell us something about your vocation and your skills so that we can call upon you and your gifts to do work for us at the church. Because working together by sharing your talents is really a great way for us to build a loving community here.
So finally, I think the most important thing we can ask of all of you is to make a new friend at church each week. Turn around, talk to somebody at church that you don't know, start up a conversation, invite them into a conversation. There's just no better way to show your love for each other than to listen to each other. So thank you.
Thank you.
That's great. Can we have a hand for all of our presenters and our vestry and everyone who's done this really hard work? So the goal for this was to just give you a lot of information, and we are hoping it is much more of a fountain of wisdom than drinking from a fire hose. This is just the beginning of these conversations and this work that we're all going to do together. So I want to tell you about what's going to happen the next couple weeks during this forum time. Next week, we're going to have an amazing forum. Christine Hartman, who many of you know, has been going. We've been sending her out once a month to Washington, D.C. to stand a day-long vigil in front of the White House. She's going to be talking to us about that journey And a huge piece of that is really we want everyone to think about, wow, how can I live out my faith here at All Saints out in the world in that way? And then the next week, we're going to have our second annual meeting, this time in the Forum, and we're going to see a great video of our life together the last year. And then we're going to hear financial reports and really look at where we are as a congregation financially, and that's going to be really important work. But then the Sunday after that, on the 17th, we're going to gather together in the Forum, and you will have heard all of these things, and this will be the chance for you to talk back. And we're going to have an on-the-table forum, and this will be a way for you all to ask questions, to give reflections on what you've heard, and for us to really all start gathering together around the table with these goals. So please, please think as you leave this place about how you can be more involved in this. We are going to be reaching out to you too. Remember to invite people who have never heard of All Saints into this work, and just keep coming together because the future is looking great. And so thank you all very much. Wonderful to have you here, and we're going to get ready for the 11:15 service. Thank you all.